Mike Gentile along here with Anthony Vitale. And tonight we have a very special guest, DJ Finesse.
What's up?
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome back.
Oh, welcome back, yeah.
Well, we didn't get to interview you last time.
Yeah,
But,
you did the biggie thing.
yeah, it was good.
How's it going, man?
Good, I can't complain. Really good. What's going on?
We're excited to have you back.
I'm actually excited to be here. I love the place. I love what's going on, what
brought-
you guys doing.
You brought your whole setup with you.
Listen, if you're gonna have fun and do it right, you know.
Yeah, man.
Those turntables don't leave the house, so it's a special occasion.
Talk to us about those turntables. Tell us the story about when you got them.
Those are the gold limited 1200s. 30th anniversary for Technique 1200 was actually my same year as my 30th birthday. So I walk in the Guitar Center. My friend's the manager there, and she's like, "You got to check this out. You got to look at these." And you know they were already out, so it's like, "How much?" He's like, $9.99. You know that's what they go for. I'm like, "Nah, I can't do it."
When was this? A long time ago?
Yeah, it's about 10 years already.
Wow. They were $9.99 back
So he goes, "For you, $6.99." And I don't think he finished the sentence, and I was like, "I'll be right back."
then. 4, please.
Yeah, right to the ATM, put those in the car, let's go.
So how far after when you picked them up, did you start playing on them? Did they like sit in the box
The
for a
funny,
while?
no, the funny story is by the time I get home, Scissorhands and Ava show up to my house.
Oh.
So I'm cracking them out of the box. These two guys are here. Scissorhands rushed, plugs one in. He scratched on it before I even did. It was like, come on,
And then,
like.
and then Ava was there till 6 in the morning.
But it was funny because it was like they just came out of the box. You know, I didn't even get the first touch. Scissor was already in the cut with him, but it's all cool.
So these don't come out of the house too often.
Those never leave the house. This is the first time they've been anywhere else to play.
Well, we are honored that you
Yeah, man. That's
Look at the place. You guys got,
no, this is great.
beautiful
man. This
setup.
is
You know,
great.
everything you're doing, all the guys you have on here. You know, like the East Coast needs this.
So
know.
you represent Queens, but what a lot of people don't know, you were born in Brooklyn.
I was born in Brooklyn.
What part of Brooklyn were you?
Troop and Park Avenue,
Okay.
right across from Woodhull Hospital. And
And how old were you when you left?
I left at 3. So Queens raised me. Queens is what made me.
Yep.
But you know, my roots are Brooklyn.
How are you not a Met fan?
It's funny. I'm not a Met hater. I was a Met fan and a Yankee fan. I'm just a baseball fan.
You're a heavy Yankee fan, though.
Yeah, I go to a lot of games. I'm just a heavy baseball fan. I really that's where I find peace. You know, like
So what do you think of the Mets pitching staff?
they're good, but they're not gonna. It's not a championship team. They're missing like 1 or 2 guys. They're missing a veteran who's been there, who has that thing. But I'm just heavy into baseball. Like that is where I can go shut the world out. You know, with music, it's like you're in the car, music's on. You're in the, you need somewhere we can go and just tune out. And Yankee Stadium's my place. And that's where I go. That's where the phone goes off. Don't bother me. You know.
How often do you get out to the park?
I used to be a season ticket holder, but it's not worth it anymore.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You know, I just went a couple weeks ago, and a rep was asking me, like, well, who's your favorite player? And I couldn't even think about it because it's like you don't identify. Like that core is gone, but it's not like I like CeCe, but it's not like somebody like, yo, that's my dude. So, but
So what year was it that you got your first pair of turntables and started DJing?
I was actually 12. My first turntable were my father's turntables. My father, always, that's how we came up. Sundays, the family would go to the city. If we walked through Canal Street, me and him would always go into Canal Hi-Fi and, just amazed by all the equipment. And he was always had the high-end, top-end equipment,
So he
2
was a DJ.
turntables. He DJ'd family parties. I can't say he was a club DJ or anything like that, but there was always 2 turntables in the house. There's always a mixer, reel to reel. So
growing up in your household, there was a lot of musical influence?
tons. My mother was always Spanish ballads. My father was a little bit of everything. And then my sister was 4 years older than me, was 80s pop. So I had it on all ends of just loving everything. There wasn't anything that I was like, oh, I didn't like that. I just liked the music, and my father always having that high-end equipment around, and he was not around. I'm over there playing with it, and then before you know it, like, he just started noticing and helping me out, giving me a little piece of equipment here, setting me up, and my first setup was his turntables at 12. They were Gerards, like belt-driven, straight tone arm.
Oh, they must have been great.
Oh, man.
What kind of mixer was it?
It was that realistic with no fader, just
The
like
realistic, yeah.
no
Radio
fader,
Shack.
just up and down.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what I was doing. I think the first record I bought at Sam Goody was a pre-mixed record. I saw it said 12-inch single, so I was like, this is what the guys get. And I bought it. I'm like, son of a gun, it's already mixed.
Yeah.
Besides like 45s as a kid, like I would get little 45s, and my parents would go record shopping. But
when did you? So like 12 years old, you started. But what gave you that bug to
I kind of
DJ?
lost it, and then it I didn't have the equipment. It wasn't where I could really do something. But at 15 years old, I went over to a friend's house, and he was like the local party DJ. Shout out to Timmy Metro, and I just went in the basement, and he had like 2 turntables of Main Source. Peace is the word, and I just started playing with it. And like he's like, "Yo, we're going outside." I'm like, "Can I stay?" And I stayed in his basement for like a good hour. I come up and they're gone. His grandma's looking at me like they left. And then that was it. That was it. Like, and then my father got a 1200, and for like 6 months he was just sitting in the living room as a high-end turntable. And I'm like,
I got to get my hands
this
on
gotta
that.
go, Pop. And I'm like, we just gotta migrate that to my room. Started with one, and within like a couple months, Christmas came, got the second one. And then a friend, I guess he wanted a DJ, he got 1200s. He got a 1200, and I had an extra Alpine car stereo. And I told him I'll trade you. And then before you know it, I had 3. So now I'm mixing house 3 at a time, like you were just trying to do that.
So did you start like what kind of music did you start playing?
I started with hip hop and house.
Okay.
But house kind of like the house I liked was more soulful. Rest in peace, John Robinson. Like I used to listen to him on BLS. That was the guy that like was my house hero. But it was, in a nice way of saying it like not bad way of saying it, it was boring to me because, okay, the mix is prepared, now I gotta wait for the spot to mix it in. You were like, what do I do now?
Right.
Hip hop, I was like, all right, I can cut this, I can cut that, and it was just action. Like, it wasn't like, you learn to mix, and no matter how many years you're mixing, you could still screw it up. But right. Once you prepare to mix, you had to wait for that spot with house music. You're waiting for the vocal. So it was like, once I started getting into just like cutting and back and forth, it was like, I realized house wasn't for me. And at the same time, my best friend was just getting into DJing also, Chris Moody. So he was the house guy. So we would start doing parties young, and he would do the house, I'd do the hip hop. And that's where it really, I just became like heavy hip hop. But I mean, I've always been a house fan and into house.
So who were some of the other DJs that you were listening to when you first started? Who was like popping at the time?
At the time, I mean, Red Alert really was the one who, even before I had turntables, like I stopped what I was doing on Friday nights, like just to sit in front of that box and, record, catch a song. And Red Alert was God. Like today, still to today, Red Alert's God. I've been around some of the most famous people in the world, and they don't faze me. Red Alert walks in, and I'm like, oh my God, it's Red Alert. Like Al Pacino could be there. I'm like, you're a bum? That's Red Alert. Like the first time I walked into Rock and Soul at the record store, he was walking out. And I did a straight U-turn and just walked outside and stood on the sidewalk staring at him like, I didn't even know what I was doing. I was just looking at him like, holy shit, it's Red Alert.
And you're not the only one who says that. Like, Riz was on the show.
Riz
Riz was saying the same thing about Red Alert.
He's just like, that was the first God to us. Marley was his own thing, but it was Red Alert was for me the biggest influence. And, early on, but then, I started getting more into DJing and realizing like whose styles I liked, who kind of formed styles that I wanted to kind of be like. Like I saw Mixmaster Mike, who DJs for the Beastie Boys. I saw him 92 at the New Music Seminar battling And it was like, I love his style. Then I started listening to his mixtapes, and he wasn't the cleanest. But musically, he was all over the place. You know, he might play a rare jazz record mixed with a drum beat, switch into a record you don't even know what it is. And that was like, it was just funk. It wasn't too clean, you know? Sometimes you hear DJs like it's too clean. It's like, it ain't funky.
Right.
You know, like, you're boring. It's not, like, I'd rather you be a little sloppy and just like, it's funky. It smells like, oh, that's fucking dope.
Like you just drop it in.
Yeah,
good
but your
songs.
timing is
Yes.
right, you know, instead of stiff. You know, it's, then, you know, then you see, then like I started kind of hanging around and getting close to Riz, and then you see that cleanliness and his timing, and you're like, all right, I got to clean up. But like, that was a whole nother like major influence. Like when I met him, it really changed the way like I actually played, and it just changed me up because of the cleanliness. And we did like some mixtapes together, like the Vegas mixtapes. Yeah. And you know, there was one thing, and it was like so like minute that was off. But Riz is like, yo, you hear it? You know, and then we run it back, and you're like, oh shit, you're right. He's like, no, it's gotta, you know. And I remember we were making a mixtape, and they're like, from then on, it was like, no, it's gotta be, you know, like right on the pocket. So he was, you know, another big influence, but I'd say, you know, so many. Just.
So talk to us about the first time you got your first gig as a DJ.
First gig as a DJ was a Sweet 16. Me, Moody, and another kid, Lou. Rest in peace, Lou.
How excited were you?
We were excited, but we were so like, it's a Sweet 16. We brought like 22 crates.
Yeah.
I swear to you, like, there was like 3 car trips. We were all 16, 17 years old, bringing crates for no reason, that you had no business bringing that record, but you thought like, I got to bring records to look, you know, like the setup, you know, and we all took turns mixing, and we split $100 at the end of the night. $33 is like.
My first party, I got beat for the money.
Then the first club I did, and the kid, you know, gave me a crate of records, and I was like, I'm happy. You know, like I was so young. I show up to the club, and you know, he's just like, yo, I need somebody to play hip hop. And I show up, and it's a knob mixer. I'd never seen a knob mixer except in pictures. Not even, it was the Bozak. It was before the Uri.
Before the Uri, yeah.
And now you're like, all right, it's got to figure it out, you know. And he's like, yeah, I don't have money, but you know, I got these crate of records in my car, and it was a good crate. So I was like, oh, this is great, you know, records. Back then, it was like you didn't care about anything but records. You know, friends are like, oh, going out, like, see you later. I got new records. I'm not leaving the house. I got no reason to.
So how often did you used to go record shopping, like when first coming up? I mean, and where did you used to go record shopping?
Liberty Records was every day. Liberty Records, Liberty Avenue, Richmond Hill, or Ozone Park, Top Spins, Jamaica Avenue, you know, and then you get a little older, you start jumping the train, Beach Street, Rock and Soul, and then it became like a routine in a circle. But back then, Strictly Rhythm was releasing songs like every 10 minutes. So you're like, back in the store, and any little dollar I had was records.
Did you used to, because I know a lot of DJs back in the day, at least the ones who weren't privy to getting all the promo copies, would call the labels and try to get on the mailing list. Did you do any of that stuff?
Yeah, but not too much. I don't know. I'm back then I had like a weird, I was a little, you know, I would say dumb, but mentally you're like hardcore, like I ain't kissing nobody's ass. Yeah. I had this real hardcore hip hop mentality, like, you know, back then there were unwritten rules, you know, and I wanted, like, I didn't care about money. To me it was about respect. I want the respect of, you know, DJs I look up to, you know, and I would see other people carry people's crates, and it's like, you're spending more time carrying his crates than you are practicing. You're not good, but you're gonna get further because you carried his crates. And you know, that bothered me. So I was never like the industry guy, hey, I was like, I'll pay for it, you know, until I started getting named, then they just start sending you stuff. But actually, a funny story is the first time I ever meet Premier, I'd only known Riz maybe a year or two, and my best friend Moody's like, yo, we're going out tonight. Riz is spinning at Hush. You know, he's like, but we got to carry a couple crates to get inside. You know, now we're in the car, there's 3 of us in the car, and knucklehead. I'm like, I don't give a fuck who's there. I'm not carrying nobody's crates. I'm like, Chris is like, he's not hip hop, so he's a house guy. He doesn't understand our like hip hop,
Like
that
the unwritten
machismo.
rules,
Yeah, like nah, that's you. When you carry somebody's, that means, in my eyes back then, it was you're bowing to them. Like I'm the guy under you carrying, and I was like the whole ride, like just a young dummy, like fuck, I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. I said, if Jesus Christ is DJing, I'm not carrying records in to get to a club, right? So whatever. When we pull down the block, Riz is standing in front. There's 3 boxes stacked each. 2 stacks is 3. And he's standing with Premier. And I'm like, oh shit, it's Premier. We pull over, we park, we get out and walk to the car. We all, it's the first time I meet Premier. Now we're all shaking hands, say hello, and Riz is like, oh, everybody ready to go in? And now there's 8 of us out here. The first person to grab a box is a Premier. So before you know it, I grab a box. So when we leave the club, Moody goes, yo, you're such a shit talker. He's like, you talk so much shit about, oh, not if Jesus Christ. I said, Jesus Christ didn't pick up a box. Premier did. Big difference. And that was like a crate story.
Yeah,
So it's
a great story.
one of those funny ones that just go down in history.
So you've been producing for a while now. When did the whole production kick into DJing?
I've always made beats. I've always, as long as I can remember, I just, the industry part of it really is a monster that I don't like. And then sometimes I feel like music, this is what I do as a business. The production side is my music. Sometimes like I make a beat, I'm like, this would be great for a rapper, but I only got like a handful of guys that I would actually want on it. I can't stand a lot of the people that are here, and you're like, this is my art. So sometimes, unless you come to my house, a lot of stuff's never been heard. Friends always get on me like, yo, you gotta get this out. But it's one of those screwed up things. It's like an artist like, nah, it's not ready.
Yeah,
Or it's not the right person that I want to add color to that. So I don't know. Maybe that I'm starting to loosen up a little bit, but this is the business. That's the art.
So
I remember there was one time you refused to play house music.
Yeah, because I just got to a point where it was like, no, I didn't, not really refuse, but
Well, I
I did.
Bonzi was like, yo, you gotta play house.
Yeah, you know what? I never liked when everybody would jump in and just switch. Like, no, stick to your guns. I remember Scissorhands telling me, yo, you're not gonna survive by not playing mashups. When the mashup craze went crazy, I'm like, I'm not doing it, because it was monkey see, monkey do, and it was like everybody's doing that. And they would play, a mashup is like you're playing a pre-mixed record when I play the original of that record. You might have a remix of a Red Hot Chili Peppers or something. I'm already playing the original, been playing the original in the clubs. I'm not gonna, just because everybody's doing the mashup, like, that's what's gonna separate me, is just be me. I don't want to, I really hated that, where everybody kind of jumps. When somebody jumps, this is the new thing, this is what we're on.
So did you never play any mashups?
Up until recently, where now it's like normal, is because most new records some of them are better as a remix. Or, they don't even call them mashups anymore. Now it's just a remix. So I think that's changed now, where now it's just considered a record. Like, this is a better version now. So, but back then it was really like on a rock record with, or Billie Jean over Foreigner, like.
Well, I think what happened with the mashup game is that, like everybody was just tiring out the same samples with so many different things. Like, they got one acapella and it was on like every single beat.
And then, some guys don't put it in key. It's like, you don't hear that? Like, it's wrong.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I couldn't get into that, and I've never been that like, all right, everybody's going left, I'm gonna go left with you. Like, I can't do that. It's like, I don't know. I think one thing, like, people who are close to me know is I'm genuine. If you ask me how this looks, if I'm your friend, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. if I'm sugarcoating it, that means I'm not a true friend if you ask my opinion. You know, like sometimes if you might play me a song you made and I'll ask you almost like before I said, do you want the real answer or you know, because a lot of people just want like somebody to yes them.
They give you the studio answer.
Yeah, you know, like, oh, it's dope. Like, I'm a DJ. I hear things that, you know, like, nah, that was dope until that part. Maybe that little switch. You're asking for my opinion or you're asking just for approval?
Right, yeah, of
You
course.
know, and I think too many people like just are yes, and like that doesn't benefit someone. You know, like you need to just be genuine. It's not that it's a rare thing for most people to be genuine, you know? And I can't be different.
So talk to us, like, who put you on in the club circuit? Like, how did you get your first break when you started playing, like, the clubs?
Really, the person that took me to the city and, like, got me regular was Mayday from Mayday and Moody. Like, I grew up with him since junior high school, and I knew him my whole life. He was DJing before me, and he's the one who broke me in, and then I got in with, like, Artie and Joey, and once I started with them, like, then it just took off, and it was like, before you know it, 6 nights a week, and just, like, you know, steady.
I remember when you used to play with Adam at
Envy
on Saturdays, yeah?
Envy, that was
a
we did
good
that for
party,
like
yeah.
two years.
That was a long
a
time.
great party.
And that was still back in the day of vinyl.
Oh yeah, that was lugging those crates up those stairs.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, I mean, I don't miss that, but I kind of missed that. I missed the feel of switching vinyl, and that was an art in itself. Like you know, people would sometimes be amazed when they watch that. You know, you know if somebody came into the booth, it's like, all right, let me turn it on a little bit and show something here, you know, and where they'd be amazed because it's not like you're clicking a computer. It was like, no, you're switching a record, throwing it in, and they're just fascinated
Like stacking
by that.
2 records on top
Yeah,
of each other.
and it was just, you know, and if you're really rocking, you're not even putting the records back in the sleeve. You just, you know, you got a pile at the end of the night, and you're like, damn, I got to clean this up, you know. And then that part I missed, but I think Mayday was like the one who really like broke me in because he was, you know, in the circuit of going out and knowing who was who.
And he's a great guy, Adam.
Yeah, that's one of my lifetime friends.
I used to work, the first time I met him was, we were doing Expo on Friday nights. It was like the Friday night party at first, Pandemonium Fridays at Expo.
Okay.
And like they put together like promoters from all different boroughs, Queens, Westchester, Brooklyn, and that's where I met him.
Yeah, and
He
he always had a huge following. Huge following.
Yep.
You know, his own crew that just always came out, partied, like good dudes, and always a good time. But I guess I credit him with, you know, actually breaking me into the city, and then, you know, just reputation started carrying me from there.
So would you say that was your favorite time to play? Was that era?
I think so. Just because it's like you're partially naive. You really just love, you know, going to play. You're not. It's not business. I'm getting paid to have fun. You know, you're going to rock a party. You know, now a party is not really rocking. You know, like back then you would like.
And it was less of a job back then.
Oh yeah, and back then it was like.
And there was more to do. It was
I
less
can-
of a job and there was more to
But,
do.
Yeah,
but also
well,
all your
yeah.
friends were there.
Yeah, but your
know,
friends
it's
would be gone at 4 in the morning.
Yeah, there was
when
nobody
those,
helping
yeah,
you.
they help you bring them in, but on the way out,
But I'm saying
it's
like
on
now
you.
you go to a club and like the people, like everybody like you grew up with that was out, like nobody's out no more.
Yeah.
You know?
I think just the really having full control of crowds, you know, like knowing, like I could turn to the person next to me and go, watch this, we're going to turn this room upside down. And then at the same time go, watch this, we're going to chill them out. You know, just having that full control. People's nowadays, their attention is so all over the room that it's hard to get a mass of people completely in sync, you know, rocking. Like, you know, back then you could like, watch this, I'm going to make them sway this way, I'm going to make them sway back. This whole room's going to rock. Yeah, and yeah, that happened too. Like, you know, one night a security guard wouldn't let me in the club with my hat on. I'm like, I'm just here to work. And he was like really arrogant, yo, no. Like, dude, I'm just here to work. I'm going straight to the booth. I don't care. I was like, get the manager. He's like, I am the manager. So whatever. I walk to the booth, no hat on. I put the hat on once I'm in the booth. He comes over bitching. I thought, all right, no problem. Now this part was heavy Brooklyn in there, so I know it just takes 10 records and we're about to have before you know it, there's a major brawl. Kid gets stabbed right in front of the club. They pop all the tires in the car that was right in front of the club. And on the way out, I told the security guard, I said, if he wasn't such a dick, that would have never happened. And he looked at me, had no idea that I caused it. And that power and that control I miss.
Now everybody's too busy on Snapchat.
Yeah, they won't even.
But that's the power the DJ had, man.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a
DJ
power
had.
we should still have. That, it's just, it's a different time. People, you can't get mad. It's just it's a different time. People are in a different brain, and
And the
back then people were
technology,
just
too.
going out to just enjoy music, enjoy a vibe, pick up a girl, pick up a guy, whatever, just have drinks. Like you're going out to party, and that was like, you went out the weekend because you worked all week. That was their release. And good music, was a lot better. Music is not as good now, so.
Talk to us about the best sound system you felt you ever played on.
What was the 22nd Street? What was that long room?
Oh,
The one-
Ohm. Was it Ohm?
No, I got
Deep.
a Prince story with Ohm.
Deep, right?
Deep, where the booth, where those CD players used to come in you digitally, like on mechanical,
Yeah.
like they'd bring them closer. That was by far the best club system I've done in the city, where it was just like rocking, and it was on record, so you're really feeling every bit of it. That was definitely the system.
What was the worst system?
You want? I don't have this. We don't have enough time. New York, when you travel and you DJ other places, you realize how bad New York booths are. Like, I think New York booths trained me to just adapt to anything on the fly, mix a record while you're under, screwing a ground
Yeah.
in, trying to cut a ground wire while you're mixing another one. I remember Sessa in the basement was like, you were next to the boiler. Like, the boiler was that speed, right there, and it was just like you're in a room, you're in the boiler room, and that's where the little setup was. But
Yeah, DJ booths in New York City.
yeah,
were
and then
a
you'd go
mess.
somewhere else, and they'd be like, the DJ would be like, oh, I'm sorry for the setup. Like, what are you, nuts? Like, it's like a ultimate setup. I was like, if you'd see what we deal with in New York, I think clubs think like, oh, it's New York, so you deal with it. This it works. Go figure it out.
Yeah.
And that happened a lot. But you just learn to adapt and on the fly do what you can.
So you toured with NSYNC.
I actually was with their opening act, but actually I would be with most of them every day. I'd play basketball with Justin every day. I would do sound check. He'd beatbox on the mic, and I'd be scratching. And
That was a cool time, right?
yeah,
Where did you go with them? Were you all over the place with them?
that was one straight U.S. tour of like 4 months straight. It was just nonstop.
must have
Amazing,
been exciting.
Yeah, what's funny is like back then my friends would make fun of me like, "Oh, you wouldn't sing." And then they'd come to a show and I'm like, they're like, "It's all little girls." I'm like, "Who do you think drives them there? Like, how do you think they get there? It's not all little girls, And then they'd come and see like, "Oh my God, this is so crazy."
So what's your favorite NSYNC song?
I don't even. What was it? "Tearing Up My Heart" was one of their songs.
Oh, God.
yeah.
I can't say favorite. I don't remember. Like,
Girlfriend was pretty good too.
yeah,
Girlfriend
that was
You
the one with Nelly, right?
You did the Garden
I
with
did the
them,
Garden.
right?
No, I did the Garden with K7.
Oh, K7.
Yeah, that was with K7.
I remember seeing you up on the big screen.
Yeah, that was probably a pretty cool thing. My father caught me up on the big screen,
Megatron.
and it was like, it's cool because my parents were there, so you're like, they always tell you, oh, maybe you should do something, get a job, or, have something to fall back on. And
Benefits.
yeah, I was always like, there ain't no falling back. I'm going to fall on those turntables, and that's it. It's going to happen. So, and, the Garden was a cool thing because it was like, they're seeing you in the Garden. Like, I don't
Yeah.
care if
That's huge, man. Coming up as a DJ, being on the
yeah,
screen at the
like, I
Garden.
don't care if I do anything else. It was person. It was like, I played at the Garden. Whether, I did like, when I opened up, I was on stage by myself for the first 2 minutes, just like a medley of just hits to get the crowd amped up. So I had the Garden for myself, so I did it 3 times, but that would always be like, it's personal, like it's a personal highlight.
Yeah, it's a pinnacle in your career.
it's like, I'm good. If I never do anything again, I could, look at that picture in the basement like I did the garden.
So now you've traveled, and you still travel, right?
Yeah.
Where are some of the places that you travel and you play?
I did China, Budapest, Greece, St. Martin, Bahamas. I mean, like the usual. And 35 out of the 50 states I've done. Like, I don't know, I think 22 stadiums. And I'm a sports fan, so just when you see a stadium, you're like, oh shit, look, it's a stadium. I've DJ'd in 22 stadiums. That was always a rush because, you'd come out. I remember we did Detroit Stadium, and like you come from behind the curtain, and you're like, holy shit, it's 70,000 people, and you're like, and that's on vinyl. When you touch the record, it's, when you're hitting that kick, it's whoa, boom, like, the whole stadium was rocking.
Do you get butterflies?
I get butterflies like if I know I'm going to do something that like is important to me. I got butterflies here. I put a little Hennessy in my cup to chill. And it's because you still have that passion to play well.
If you didn't have butterflies, you wouldn't be normal.
Right. Yeah. And like it's not a bad thing, it's a good thing. It's because it's almost like a fighter. Like, like before the fight you get a little antsy. It's like, I don't want to stand here. Let's fight. Like one promoter always hires me and he'll say, yeah, be there at 6. But sometimes I don't play for an hour, hour and a half. I don't like that. I don't like being in the club before. Tell me I go on at 6:30 and I'm that guy that appears at 6:25 straight to the booth and I'm on at 6:30 because I don't like the hang around. I don't like the build up. Let's fight. Like I want to get it on. I don't want to hear somebody else that, somebody else's vibe may also turn me off. Yeah. Majority of the time, somebody's not where you're playing before, like, ooh, he's killing it, now I'm ready to go. So over the years, I just became to the point where it's like, I like to walk in the back door last minute. And then I saw like a documentary, Chuck Berry did the same thing, where he would, he told him set time 6:30, he pulled in the back door, 6:29, plug his guitar in, do his set, out the door. And I kind of admired that, and I was like, that's what I like. After I may hang out, but before, I don't like to be around. It's too, like the excitement's there. I want to play,
So this interview must be killing you.
Nah, not at all. I usually don't talk, like a lot of people don't,
I don't about these lights. You get underneath the lights, and then you just start talking.
It's different. It's not like, there's music and there's people. When you see the people, it's like, you start getting itchy, I'm ready to fuck this crowd up.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, it's that energy, right?
Yeah.
Like you're feeding off of that.
And knowing, like, I can control them. Like knowing, like, all right, I know what I'm going to do, and I'm going to turn this up in a minute, or we're going to reset the party. Sometimes the openers kind of goes a little too crazy, and then you got to pull the brake a little.
Yep.
Like, slow it down. And they look at you like, what the hell are you doing? Meanwhile, you're going, trust me, Junior, I'm going to reset this and I'm going to show you. And it's like you almost kill the party, but it's almost just like a resuscitation. All right, everybody, clear the way. I'm going to pump this 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to go crazy.
So do you like to play, because like some DJs don't like to just do like a short set. Like some DJs like to go in and play 4, 5, 6 hours.
I used to like the long set because you were creating the journey. And when you set the table, you're building the vibe from the minute one. That you're setting up how this is going to go. Like it's 10 o'clock, there's no reason to go crazy. It's 11 o'clock, there's still no reason to go crazy. 12 o'clock, now I'm going to play older stuff, but there's still a vibe. I'm building it up, and it's like I still have hits. And sometimes even now when I get on, I play a game with myself, try to see how long I can bullshit and rock the party before I go in. And if sometimes like I'm doing a good job, I'm like, shit, it's 1:45. I still have all my hits to go, and the party's rocking. So now I'm going to go crazy, and they're going to be, then it's going to be a whole different thing. But I don't know. I guess in these times, I just like, give me a 2-hour window. Let me get in. Let me do what I got to do. And,
I heard you play one night. You were doing Amnesia on Saturdays. I think you were doing that in the city.
Yeah,
I think it was Jerry B's party.
Yep.
And you did a long set, and I'll never forget. Like you dropped. It was just like when that remix of "Sex on Fire" was out.
Yep.
Like, awesome, man. Like, you dropped, like, the whole place erupted when you dropped that song. It was like,
There I actually, like, I enjoyed playing open format. I enjoyed going to do the house. I enjoyed going, like, you know, all different directions because you could with that room.
That was a great party.
Yeah,
That
and
Saturday
that
party.
almost like 3 years almost doing that, you
Yeah,
know, and
yeah.
like that's one room that I missed that I enjoyed.
That was Jerry B, right?
Yeah, that was Jerry's party. But there's you know, there's still like Atlantic City is like a room that I still have fun in. Like I go there and you know, you have such a varied crowd that you can just take control and do what you want and, you know, go left or not go left. It's just, it's a good vibe, you know.
Where do you play in Atlantic City?
Providence in the Tropicana. Yep. Actually, next year will be 10 years. 10-year resident. I'm hoping just to get to that 10-year anniversary date, just to like say, wow, I had a 10-year residency.
so how often, though, do you?
It's once a month.
Once a month?
Yeah, once a month, and it's almost like a little goal right now. I'm like, I just want to get to. If they never hire me again, I just want that on my you know my history in my brain. Like, I had a 10-year residency.
Well, let me tell you something. Even if you had like a 2-year residency, I mean, to have
Nowadays.
a 10-year residency.
Well, that's
speaks
why
a
to
lot.
me it's almost like getting a certified diamond album.
No,
you
I
know,
mean,
like
that speaks a lot of you as a DJ in a few senses, right? Because one, obviously, you have to be a good DJ, number
Yeah.
one. But two, that just shows your evolvement, how you can be relevant over a 10-year period and play a room. You're playing different types of music. You're adjusting. You know, like
Yeah.
they wouldn't be bringing you back if you weren't doing something right.
You know, sometimes people will say something to me about, you know, like, oh, you're really good at this, you're really good at that, and to me, it's like, I don't know. I'm real humble, and I don't like to, you know, toot my own horn. But I always just say, like, it's what I'm doing is simple. Like, I just keep it simple. If you know how to look at a room, it's not about, you know, what I want to hear. Just, you know, like, this is not working. All right, I got to adjust now, move over. You know, it's, and I don't stretch boundaries sometimes too much in certain places. If you know the room, you know what you can do. You know Atlantic City is just an all-around crowd. There's people coming from anywhere
Right.
to enjoy their weekend. So let's say, you know, when they tell me like, oh, this guy came in here and stunk it up, I'm like, how? It's the easiest job in the world. You know, like, just read the crowd and keep it popular.
Right. Like when you're able to read the crowd and understand what they're into, that gives you the opportunity. Like, you know, maybe one week you're going heavy on hip hop from like 2005 because you have a crowd that's
Right.
feeding off of that.
Right.
You know? So you're adjusting. Like, all right, this week I know I can go heavy with this because I got that crowd.
Right.
for that,
And, you know, a tip to young guys. Sometimes you could use a record to feel it out. You know, I used to joke when other DJs in the booth that I was friends with, sometimes I would do this, you know, when I'm about to throw on a record, and I tell them, I got the Parachute record ready. Meaning, I'm going to throw something that I'm not too sure about, but my gut's telling me it's going to work. But if it doesn't, I got the Parachute record, which is a hit that's going to fix this mess. You know, and then when you throw it in, it's like, oh shit, it worked. My gut was right. But if it didn't,
You're ready to go.
I'm ready to go out. So, you know, to test the boundary is try one different record or try something that you may feel like, oh, this might work, it might not. You know, and that's how you start adjusting and feeling rooms. But also if you get a feeling like this is not working, you know, the main thing is keep the girls happy. Sometimes if there's not enough girls, you just gotta keep the party going without starting fights.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
it's that's the job.
So tell us about what you're going to do for us tonight.
You have something planned?
Majority, I always try to plan ahead for like things I want to do special. But Vitale calls me up, I don't know, maybe a month and a half ago, and he's like, yo, I want you to do, no, right after we did the Biggie thing, I think. And he's like, yo, can you do next week? I'm like, I need time. I'm like, I need time. I got to prepare, you know, like the way you guys set up, it makes you want to do something dope, you know, like, so I'm like, I need time. So yesterday I'm like, shit, I don't have time. So I started making stuff yesterday and trying to like, so if I miss a couple things, I mean, there's a lot going on I have to remember, like little new things that I made up, but I'm trying to go with a lot of new stuff. I don't like to go into old routines. but probably after the first 45 minutes, I'll go to the old bag. But there's a lot of new stuff, which is like, it's about timing, you know, and it's tried, you know, I try to do a lot of new word plays, you know, like there's a few of us that when we do wordplay, it's like, oh shit, you know, maybe only 5 of us get it, but you're always trying to do something where the other guy's like, oh shit, you know, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a little stupid game that we just play for no reason. You know, it's fun. It's almost like taking mixing to another level. It's like you can mix normal, but let's spice it up. Like do something funky with it. You know, and a lot of guys doing it. A lot of guys are amazing. There's new guys that like are just like, man, that is amazing. It's hard to keep up because it takes a lot of work. You know, so today's set is going to be, a lot of it's compiled in the last 24 hours.
So we want to get you on, but before we get you on, we want to hear one story. We want to hear the Prince story.
The Prince story at Ohm. I'm doing NSYNC's MTV Awards after party. Everybody's there. Janet Jackson, Q-Tip, Timbaland. I mean, it was just the who's who of the industry was there. Now, at the end of the night, shut the music off. This guy comes in looking like a Secret Service agent. He's like, how much to play for an hour for Prince? You know, and I'm there like, how much? I'm like, I just want to shake his hand with the stone cold face of death. In a deeper tone, the guy just said, how much to play for an hour for Prince? You know, and I said $1,000. I could have said $5,000 when I thought about it. The guy was like, no problem. Walked out. And like 5 minutes later, a lady comes in, asks for my information, name, you know, and she's like, I'm coming back with a CD. She came back, hands me a CD. The CD was Prince's new album. So now the booth is like, you know, if it's here and that's the dance floor, the booth is a little elevated, so I'm 3 feet off the ground or whatever in a window where he can, you know, he walks right to the front. And I'm like, holy shit. Now I got this CD of his new album. The only people left in the clubs are the professional dancers because they're all hanging around like, maybe I can press him and go on tour with him, you know, something like that. So he's there with his wife at the time was Mai Tai. He wouldn't look up. He kept whispering in her ear. She would look up and tell me the track number. He never looked up. And I was just like, come on, Prince, like, give me a sign, something, man. Like, a head nod, like, yeah, you did good, you know what I mean? Like, nothing at all.
Oh,
and that was the whole night, you know, and it was like, holy shit, it's fucking Prince. And I had like his fresh new album. It was the Sign of the Times album, I think, and on a CD. And then the second we were finished, the lady was back in like, CD now. My friend, funny, he had a video camera. He was videotaping. The security guard grabbed it, pulled it open, took the tape out, and threw it out. Wow. And he's like, yeah, and that was a good time. I just wanted the acknowledgement.
Yeah.
You know, like, come on, me. You know, like, just wave, like, the corner of your eye. But it was whispering in her ear. And that's the Prince story. Rest in peace, Prince. Yeah, but there'll never be another like that. But next time I do it, I'll tell you a different story. I already want to come back and do it again.
All right, we're going to take a 2-minute break. We're going to get Finesse up on the turntables.